Okay, there we go. So SMCI recently went from roughly $350 all the way up to 700, sorry, to $1,080, massive 200% gain, and $721, in terms of the move. And I think it's a really good example to study, right? Because once every so often there will be a stock that will um do things like SMCI, and it's really good to be prepared, for when that actually happened. So what I want to sort of point out here again, and if you've taken some of my one-on-one session, then you'll know what I'm saying. If not, then uh, I recommend that you go and study what are the stock stages. But these are really sort of important, but overall, what we're looking at is sort of stocks movement over the longer period of time, right? That's why, for example, for all of my swings, you'll see that I use sort of longer time frame, like 24 hours or even, weekly time frame, because, it provides you a better context and a better view of what is happening. Now, you can see that initially SMCI, right, it was basing, or, it was barely any movement, but then it started going up, right? So each candle here is a week of price action. Now, it's starting moving up. The moving averages that you see over here are, 8-day line, 20-day line, and that's 50-day line. The white line, that's the 200-day moving average. So as you can see here, as it starts going up, right, by several weeks, gets high, pulls back to 8-day line as a support, okay? And then it continues going up. And it makes a new high all the way here at 360, and then it pulls back. Now, what happens after that is important, right? And that's why we also want to, set ourselves up to be on the move up, right? Not buying the dip, not when stock is, sort of pulling back, etc. But observe, because we can find ourselves, trading for, sideways for very, very long time. But watching those pullbacks is very important, because what's happening there, it's, stock consolidates, and, and it kind of has a chance to breathe. Let's see how long this did that last for. That's 114 days over here of trading. So that would be what, 4-5 months. That's how long it consolidated, right? That's actually even more. That's 1 quarter, second quarter, 3 quarters. So that's even from August all the way up to I guess, was that end of January. Now, what's happening in that consolidation is very important, because it pulls back, tries to find finds a support at certain level. Usually you can see that some of the moving averages here are also used as support levels, right? So that's why we have them. But nothing over here is very, actionable. Volume trades below average. So so we sort of watching this, and we want to let this stock prove itself to us, right? That's how the, hedge funds and, and institutional investors are looking at it, over a longer period of times. Then they don't just go in, they kind of accumulate over the long period of time. And that's what happened here, after this initial spike, the pullback to 20-day line, and then sort of break from that flag right over here, and then further consolidation, sorry, further move up on the breakout from this bull flag, and then sort of went up, hit that high, and then I don't know what it was it guidance or something, but it didn't like, investors didn't like the earnings, and it pulled back. It created a, a support level here at 223, right? So, and it sort of pulled back, tried to go higher, but failed. Now it made a new high, higher high, high low, etc. And then over here, it's starting to look better. Now, as you can see here, it tried to pull back, but it found support here at the 100-day line right over here, and it started created this a sort of ascending triangle. But that still wouldn't be, a right trigger or buy point, because just not enough confirmation, right? And here, as you can see, on those kind of pullbacks, and also we've got this rejection, right, of this price right over here, right? So that got rejected, okay, and it pulled back more, found support at the 20-day line, and now just few days before earnings, right? Few days before earnings, we can see sort of how volumes is starting to increase, right? Look at that volume here. Sort of first, we had actually a couple things. The selling volume starts to drop, and then following that, we had a 1 day above average volume, and then next day here, on the break of this previous high and resistance, we get this sort of breakout here on the high volume, right? Which would have been our entry, starter entry. And what happens following that is just that stock just never looked back. It just continued on and on and on, right? So we kind of, hopefully now we understand, how the bases work, and why is it important to watch them. Now, how do we trade them once they break out? That's then when we start looking into moving averages, right? And the price action, how that then performs. We look at the volume, we look at the moving average as support, and we want to see continuation. And look, on that breakout here, we've got, sort of explosion, and then sort of follow through on the next day, bit of consolidation, but still, it never went below the previous day's low, right? Which is good. Continued, small consolidation, made a new high, okay? Made a new high here. Small and very tight consolidation, as you can see right over here, okay? On a lower and decreasing selling volume, which is a positive. That was just prior to earnings, right? Then we had a positive earnings that pushed price even higher. Now, pay attention to the 8 moving average, which is the yellow line, right? How it came back, right? After these explosive moves, how it came back, didn't even touch it, right? But we can sort of use that as support and continue going up and up. And look, momentum even increased over here. We're getting further away from the 8-day line, another tight area of consolidation. So what we've got here, okay, and then another sort of, increasing volume to the upside. And look, we get further and further away, right? Those candles get bigger and bigger, as we get further and further away, we get to the point of, sort of this climactic, I guess, event, right? Where it needs to break. So obviously along the way, you would be expected to secure some profits, right? But even if you followed the simple rule of, watch if it breaks the previous day's low, okay, then you could have easily sort of gotten in here and then exit there you know, making this 140, you know, percent trade, right? But, you know, it just, you get a sense, you know, when this is happening, that it's coming to an end. And now it's just too much tension sort of build up and accumulated. And at some point it needs to break. And and you can play this on from both ends, right? You could have been here on long, right? Going all the way up there. And then when you see this stopping sign, right? After, for example, you had another tight consolidation here, and then you move another up, sort of move up, and then look how sort of how big these steps are in terms of the new highs, right? We didn't see that before, it was gradual. So you can see it's just almost sort of treat this as a greed. Everyone is piling in. I've heard someone, you know, taking, I don't know, 1140 calls on SMCI and they still stuck in it there. And you know, when I saw that, I think it was around 960. When I saw this happening, I posted that, you know, I'm taking one share of short, you know, and it's just going down. And look, it first, you can see when it sort of first breaking to the downside. First of all, it broke previous day's low. Okay. And let's see, you know, when did that happen for the first time? I can't see it happening since the very beginning, actually. Look, all the previous day's lows, you know, were never broken on this trade. So this would never actually trigger your exit anywhere along the way here. Okay, so the exit would trigger right over here as it was pulling back. Now, then you might think, well, okay, what do I do next? Well, then you go into the mode of, right, you know, I can maybe go short in here because that, you know, that was the climactic move. It's got to pull back. So what do I do next? Well, you could literally short this stock from break of the previous day's low. Though your first price target would have been, you know, the 8-day moving average, because that was previously used as support. Now the second one is the second, the 20-day line as your second price target, right? This is where we're getting there at the moment. Okay. And also the tops of those tight consolidations, that's also going to be now going to be tested as support areas. You know, coincidentally, this is also, you know, sort of roughly the same area as the 20-day line. Now, if we break that, then your next level of support would be right over here. Okay, again, this top, and then your 50-day line here at 518. Do I think we're going to get that low? I don't think so. But I think, you know, we certainly, well, we already here at the 705 level, right? Which is what 696 was the low of the day. And then the next one is going to be right over here. It's around 650. Okay. So these would be my areas of support. And this is, yeah, and this is just something that that I feel, you know, is a really good thing to review in terms of the trade and the price action and how it moves. Because some of those, you know, some of those breakout entries from those bases and longer term consolidation, if it's a market leader, you know, are going to be powerful. You know, whether they're going to be 200% powerful, I don't know. So, but you know, not every trade is going to be a home run, you know, 200%. You know, we aim at the 20% moves, and that's, you know, and that's good enough. Over here, a lot of conditions had to come into play to make this a 200% move. Now, so that's one thing. You know, I'll go into LUNR because I think this is, you know, also one of the trades here that is now, you know, sort of also performing really well. But, you know, we kind of see the similar part. I'm going to remove those drawings and kind of go over here, right? You know, that's why I said, like, you know, I don't like trading stocks that are moving down and are below all the moving averages because, you know, they're downtrending. We want to see stocks that are, you know, sort of consolidated, created their basis, and, you know, and have, you know, meet the criteria for us to go higher. And as you can see, you know, all this price action here happening below the 200-day line, right? The white line here, it's 200-day line. Most of it over here happening below all the moving averages, you know, not interested. Only here, and a super low volume as well. And over here is just building that base. Okay. And that's what we want to see. That's good, right? And, you know, we don't try to bottom fish, right? Never try to bottom fish and never try to sell the top. Because, you know, you essentially going to be guessing where that is. But some triggered entries or some entries have higher probability of success than others. And, you know, and LUNR here, for example, is one of them. You know, we had this nice sort of, well, not nice, but we had this downtrend. Okay, that was broken. You know, first time in a while, it starts to try to peak. It peaks above the moving averages here. Okay, and it kind of reverses. Look, and the volume also starts to go up a little bit over here. Okay, something positive, more positive is happening, but it still wouldn't be interesting to us. Now, you know, it tried to go higher previously here and create some pivot points of resistance. Now, as it went up and broke those resistances, it tried, but it failed. But it consolidated, and I want to kind of point out how, you know, how tight this consolidation was over here. And actually, that was the, you know, that was one of our entries as well onto this for this particular trade. And, you know, and then, but you can also see the volume here increasing. Okay, so flat, sort of flat base consolidation, and then we get a sort of move up, and it took off. I remember in the first 2 days as well. Okay, took off, made some nice sort of gains, pull back, right? Pull back, now tested previous resistance, now as support, and continued moving up. Okay, and then, you know, look at the volume here, right? On this sort of, when you switch to candles, look, that's a doji, right? So at some point, price got to the bottom of this candle, and then it got bought up right away. Well, not right away, but, you know, throughout the day, it got bought up. So that's a very strong indication of the support level. And, you know, and close to the sort of top of the range, you know, kind of indicating a strong support, you know, and the demand, right? And the next day it continued. So really, you know, the couple of options here that you would have in terms of how you would approach if you, for example, secured your profits and exited that from here, you know, you would either do, you know, seeing this kind of pattern or candle, you could do two things. One would have been on this day, when this sort of price goes above the previous day's high, you could trigger your entry, or a safer option, you know, alternative option would be to go green candle over red candle, right? That's because then it negates that red day essentially, right? Allowing you, you know, at least sort of having in mind that this level can go from here to here, right? Which is around 28% move. But then, you know, still what we want to then see is for this, for example, swing trade to go and make the new highs, right? New daily high, which is right over here, right over here. Okay. And, you know, it's making new high today again. But look how much leverage, instead of, for example, waiting for this, you know, to break this high, this kind of approach and then swing provides you a little bit more, you know, I guess 30% more leverage. You know, overall, this is now, you know, up 100% from that point. And if you go back through the swings, some of that we are in, you know, you'll see many examples of that as well. So I just want to kind of bring those two examples to let you know how we can sort of take advantage of, you know, a little bit more profitable trades as well. Final one that I'm going to go through is going to be KNSL, right? Because that was pretty good trade, where we sort of got a little bit sort of early entry here on this breakout around 405 level, and then sort of, you know, waited for the earnings. Couple days before earnings, we already had $35 of cushion, you know, but you know, seeing this range here, right? After this sort of price action, again, want you to pay attention to the pullbacks, you know, the tight areas as we call them. Okay, that would be your tight area over here. And again, pulling back to the 8-day line. Now, having momentum, moving away from the 8-day line. Now, again, pulling back, you know, sort of pulling back, testing 8-day line, breaking, right? There's your 20-day line, sort of trying again, pulling back, testing 20-day line again. And here, you know, it was what we saw here. If I remove this and this, you had two things. One was a bit of a flag, and two, you could see that as a symmetrical triangle. Now, what you need to understand about symmetrical triangle patterns is they essentially tightening up, right? So this gap from here to here, as the price contracts, is getting smaller and smaller. So at the end, what we need is a resolution and the price actions to go somewhere, right? I think statistically, from the Bukowski analysis, I think the 76% of that resolution is to the upside, right? So we could have, you know, sort of kind of confidence that maybe if we mark this pivot point right over here on the breakout of this downtrend from here to there, okay, we could mark that as an early entry. And I think, you know, that's exactly what we did. And that was a couple days before earnings here. And as we went up, right, just before the earnings, I believe we were from here to there, you know, up like, you know, 24 or, you know, $30, something like that, right? And then, you know, what happened was, you know, we had this, you know, sort of positive earnings and then continuation over the last, you know, 3 trading sessions, essentially, you know, making this a, you know, a massive winner, 30% move here. And, you know, the one observation that I have that, you know, the stocks that break out like this, because of its consistency, and that's where, you know, the RS, relative strength, comes to play. And yeah, and there we go. And then you have these you know, sort of numbers here, which is, you know, quarterly reports performance for earnings per share, so EPS, right? You can see the growth, consistent growth of this company, and then you can see percentage change also in terms of the sales in million over quarter. Is a good indicator to tell you that it's unlikely that this price of KNSL is going to come back to that breakout point, right? It's going to consolidate here, probably, right? There's, you know, the moving averages needs to catch up a little bit. I don't know when that's going to be, but look, you know, sort of this is strong sign of institutional accumulation. You know, you and me do not have the power to create this level of volume, right? But institutions do. So I expect that this is going to have further consolidation. Again, none of these candles broke the previous day's low, if that makes sense. So what we're going to expect over here, right now, now that we've put in a new high, is for this to consolidate. Okay, so this is now creating our resistance, consolidate. Probably the 8-day line is going to, you know, do like that. The 20-day line, is going to follow this price action. This may come back over here, test, and then continue going higher. That's something that might happen. But again, it's important to understand, why are we entering these plays? There's these are specific reasons and specific setups, and the probability of those setups is on our side. Does it mean that they're going to always work out? No. It's a trade market. It's a stock market. Sometimes things don't go the way we want to. But that's okay. But if we can position ourselves in the majority of the plays, right, in order to get at the right time, like I said, not bottom fishing, we're not trying to sell the top. Be systematic and follow the rules in terms of securing your profits along the way, and then we'll be just fine. Now, yeah, I think I'll stop the recording here, and then I'll open the floor for the questions and the discussion. So just bear with me 1 second.